Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogrammer.com. I got a very interesting question today. I'm going to attempt to answer this. I'm going to be straight up honest with you, because when I'm giving you advice that I'm 100% sure and confident in, I tell you, and I present most of my advice that way. But just because I can't give you 100% confident answer doesn't mean I'm not going to try to answer a question here. So I have to say that this is a question that me, being a man, coming from a male perspective, I may not have the best answer in the world at, but I'm going to give it my best shot here. So the title of this email that I got is, I became an alpha female, help me John. I think the help me John part has made it so that I feel like I have to answer this question, because I want to try and help if I can. But like I said, caveat here just to say that I don't know what it's like to be a woman or an alpha woman, so I can really get into the mind of a man and tell you how to improve your masculinity, how to attract women, how to do those kind of things, because I've had to master them and learn them myself. Whereas on the woman's side, you know, I'm going based on the psychology that I know and just my opinion here. So, you know, if you are a woman and you've got opinions on this and you've got some success here, you've dealt with similar problems, I always, you know, I encourage you to leave a comment below, or better yet, heck, make a video and I'll link to it and I'll share that, because I want to help, right? This is the whole point of this channel. So let's get into the question here. Hey, John, I'm Amanda, 29 years old, Brazilian web developer. I've been watching your videos and they helped me a lot during the last months. That's cool. I appreciate that. I also appreciate that, you know, there's not as many women on this channel. That's unfortunate, but I appreciate those of you that are here that stick with me and don't think that I'm, you know, a chauvinist pig, or maybe you do and you don't care. But whatever, it's cool. So thumbs up to you.
Tired of pushy recruiters sending you LinkedIn requests for jobs you have no interest in? Tired of blasting out resumes into the dark? If so, you should check out Hired.com. Hired.com flips job searching on its head by having top employers like Facebook come to you after you fill out one simple application. You also get your own job coach to help you on your next job search. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you at least fill out the application. Just go to Hired.com/simpleprogrammer, and when you get hired with Hired, you'll get double the normal sign-on bonus for using that link.
All right, I can't agree more with your opinion about masculine and feminine. Cool, that's all. I like that as well. Life is what it is. I don't understand why people got so butthurt about your videos. I don't either. It's a free world and people can decide how much masculine or feminine energy they would like to put in their lives, regardless of their gender, cis or not. And I totally agree with that. I think that not every guy is going to be wanting to be so strongly masculine, and not every female is going to want to be so feminine. And there is a yin and a yang. I mean, we do have to have both sides, right? We all have, as much as I hate to admit it, I do have a feminine component to my personality. If I did not, I would just be in your face all the time, and I probably wouldn't be giving you advice. I'd probably just be trying to bite you or attack you or something like that. I don't know. I'm just playing, but all right, so making a long history short, I'm a leader of developers here in Brazil. Being a woman in a third world country is hard, and being a technical leader of a group of 6 men is harder. As the world is not fair, to be respected, I had to develop a lot of masculine characteristics. I became objective, hard, analytical, driven by results all the time. It was great. I was promoted twice, gained confidence from the board of directors, from my clients, and from my team members. On the other hand, it was terrible. I became an alpha female in my personal life. If you have curiosity, this text describes my situation. So she links to the dating struggles of an alpha female. And what is your opinion about alpha females? Is there a space for us in relationships? What would you recommend in balancing masculine, feminine in my life? Cheers. So there's a couple of things I would say here. Again, I've already given my caveat, so I'm not going to do it again. I definitely do have some opinions here. This is a tough one. I read the article, and I'll start off by saying one thing that's for sure, although I'm going to sort of contradict myself a little bit, which is that one thing you have to be really careful of, especially articles like this, is where people tend to take vices a lot of times and they try to turn them into good things, right? Now again, I'm saying I'm slightly contradicting myself here, because in this case, I don't think that's necessarily that, but there's a little bit of a hint of that. So I guess what I'm saying is that sometimes people will take something that's a vice that they should probably improve on or change in some way or fix about them, and they'll try to make it into something good. They'll almost be proud of that vice. And so, you could definitely be a female that is super masculine, and it could be hurting your life, and you could say, oh, I'm an alpha female, and these are the struggles that we have, but we're so awesome. And that could actually be hurting you from growing, right? And this is just one example, but there's tons of these examples where people do this. And it's so sad because when you do that, when you adopt that, when you take that vice, something that's actually negative, and you turn it into something that you're going to now be proud of and try to make acceptable and whatever, and say how good it is, even though it's bad and hurting you, you lose the ability sometimes to actually make changes that would be positive in your life. Now, in this case, again, like I said, when I read that article, I'm almost like, well, okay, so this is kind of interesting because this is I'm actually going to call the alpha female that's described in this article as not really super masculine. I think it's like almost like a hyper feminine. Like I think alpha female is actually a pretty good description because it's not alpha like alpha in the male sense, right? Not like super masculine, although there's some masculine attributes to that, but it's more like it's just like so feminine that it's so hard to like, it's going to take an extremely masculine male to be able to penetrate that core and to be able to actually make this person show more feminine attributes. And so that's sort of the advice that I'm going to give you here is that, well, let's back up a little bit and let's talk about what you had to do to succeed in the workplace. Now, workplaces, although people don't like me saying this, are predominantly going to be masculine. Now, I've said in some other videos, you can check out my masculine and femininity videos. Should just have a playlist at this point, so you can get more of the background here. But just to summarize a little bit here, there are different environments, there's different things that really have masculine or feminine attributes, right? Something like I would consider the ocean or the beach to be a very feminine, Hawaii, feminine type of place in the atmosphere, whereas I'd consider the work to be more of a masculine atmosphere. Why? Because it's not men or women, it's not one is better or one is worse. It's just what kind of attributes it takes to succeed or to enjoy or to get the most out of that environment, right? When I'm in Hawaii at the beach, it's more of that feminine, enjoying beauty, enjoying the time and presence, right? And that's really what you want there, okay? That's what it inspires and encourages, right? Being very analytical and hard and driven at the beach in Hawaii doesn't make a lot of sense, right? It's not going to go well there, right? But someone who is that would be drawn to that, again, polarization, right? They're going to say, man, I really want to, I love the beach. And, maybe that's one of the reasons why I feel like I have to live near the beach all the time, is because I feel like I need that. I want to have that feminine energy. I want that because I can be very analytical and masculine and sometimes a little bit overboard in that direction. And so that I feel that polarization strongly. And I feel, if any kind of feminine energy, I'm more strongly polarized and pulled towards that because especially when I'm more in my masculine state. So work environment, right? Again, that is going to be more on the masculine side, right? Being very in the moment and feeling things and present in the work environment is not quite as valuable as being hard and driven and analytical and being that kind of breakthrough barriers, that basic masculine energy. That's what succeeds the most in the workplace. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a need for some feminine energy in the workplace. I totally agree that there does. Otherwise, it'd be really kind of boring. And I think there's definitely an added element to that. But in general, for women to succeed in the workplace, in this masculine environment, they have to adopt some of these masculine attributes. Now, the problem that I see, which Amanda is saying, is that a lot of that spills over because you get used to being in that masculine zone and acting that way, and then your home life and the way that you deal with people in general starts to be that way. And when it's too much that way, you've got a bit of a problem if you're a female, and you're going to threaten a lot of guys, right? So I think there's, again, this is kind of weird, but I think there's this way that you can exhibit some of those masculine traits and still hold on to the feminine. I think both have to be really, really strong in order to succeed like this. So let's take the workplace part of it, and then we'll take the social part of it. So in the workplace part of it, right, in order to, if you just as a woman, adopt all of these masculine attributes, right, and don't have the soft feminine side as well, you're going to come off as kind of a bitch. Like, that's what people are going to think of you, because they're just like, she's so cruel and so heartless and so analytical, right? They're going to think of you that way. So I think there is definitely some room to be very feminine at the same time, right? I think, doing feminine things like how you dress and how you carry yourself and having that softer side is going to complement that, because, you have to, again, it's this yin and the yang, right? And this is all my own, theoretical, like I said, but I believe that when you have to up that masculine side, you have to up that feminine side as well to keep that in balance, right? So that you end up being a better integrated whole person, okay? So I think that's definitely is important for a woman in the workplace, and I think that you're going to get the best results that way, which I see in that attribute of that alpha female. Now, I think there's two ways to go on the social side of this, right? I think if you don't have that soft side, if you haven't upped that feminine side as well, you're going to have some problems in your social life, because you're going to be so, like, guys are definitely going to be intimidated by this, by a driven, focused woman. I mean, I'm just saying, right? But there's the kind of guy that is not going to be intimidated, and that's probably the one that you want, and that's the one that's really going to get to your feminine side, which is going to be the guy that can handle that shit, right? It's going to be tough, but there's going to be guys that are going to be that are going to call you on your shit, that are not going to let you bulldoze them, that are going to almost appreciate that, because they're going to see you as a challenge, and they're going to say, oh, she's so damn spunky, I like that shit, I like the fire that she's got, right? And they're going to be able to take that, but part of that is because I feel like what's gonna happen, or what's happening with this alpha female, the way it was described in the article, is that it's a huge amount of feminine energy, like a overbearing amount, and so most guys are gonna get wiped out by that. It's gonna be like surfing and a killer wave comes and wipes them right out. They're not gonna be able to handle that. They're not gonna be able to handle the storm, the shit storm that comes up, that emotional, right? That's gonna come up from a very feminine woman who can also be very masculine, just a very intense person, right? That's had to up themselves up to that. So, like I said, I think there's two ways to handle this that I would recommend to you. One is that you could, I feel like, again, like I said, I think that you have to be very feminine in order to relate to this alpha female side of it. A lot of these attributes are extremely feminine, so much so that they almost look masculine, right? Because they're so strong. But remember, I mean, here's the distinction here between the masculine and feminine. I'm sidetracking a little bit here, but on the masculine side, it's all about breaking through barriers, right? It's all about protection. It's all about being focused and analytical and thinking ahead for the future, and do things make sense? Okay, this is what it's all about. It's that practical, pragmatic, right? That's really on the masculine side of it. Whereas the feminine side of it, if we were to talk about that, it'd be more about being in the present moment, enjoying the time now, feeling what comes, and going with that flow. And sometimes it's going to be a storm of anger, emotion, and going with, and sometimes it's going to be sadness, and sometimes it's going to be this. It's feeling life, and it's being life, right? Where man is finality, or masculine is finality, let's get this shit done. Where woman is flow, feminine is flow and energy and feeling these things. I know some of you are like, what the fuck, John? But hey, just hear me out here, all right? So, thinking about that, okay, when you look at that, again, that article, and you talk about what an alpha female is, and I look at we have smart mouths, we're not afraid to speak our minds, we take the lead, and that makes most men run, we're unfazed by cliche romance, we're challenging, we're brutally honest, we have very few damsel in distress moments, we're genuinely busy and it frustrates our suitors, right? Was there a couple other things? No, that's it. Those things I could see in a very feminine light, right? Because I can see those as extremely intense with the emotions. I can see that is extremely in the flow, right? So what I would say with that, right? If that's the way that you're seeing those things, and you're seeing yourself as that, it's like a big challenge. Like, the way that you could go with that is you could say, okay, what you need in that case is a very masculine man, someone who's basically not gonna who's basically not gonna be affected by your shit, right? So you're gonna blow up. I mean, okay, so a feminine blows up the shit storm, right? And a masculine man is gonna stand in the face of the hurricane and is gonna be like, hey, I could take whatever you dish out, I can take it, and and he's still there for you, right? You're almost testing him to see is he still going to be around, seeing the worst of you, seeing the emotional, what you are, right? And is he going to appreciate that? But the super masculine, like when it's like category 5 hurricane, which is probably what you're capable of, right? That's that supercharged feminine. He's really going to have some ground. He's really going to be able to have to take the shitstorm and to be able to not let it affect him, right? Because you don't want a guy that is going to that you're going to be always apologizing to because you're always hurting his feelings, right? Or I can't believe it. He can't take that shit, right? And it's not going to be a lot of guys, right? I mean, most guys you're probably going to be able to crush. You're probably going to be able to make them go home and cry to mommy, okay? And again, that's not because you're super masculine. That's more of a super feminine trait. Honestly, that's like when you say alpha female, that's what I'm thinking there, right? Because if you're super masculine, you wouldn't have that problem. I mean, think about this, right? So now I'm feeling a little more confident in my answer. But if you're super masculine, what you would be doing is you'd get along with him. You'd be drinking beers with him because you'd both be analytical, right? He'd be like, that was some pretty fucked up shit when you said that, and then you'd be like, yeah, you know what? That's true. That's not quite right. I got a little let myself get a little bit carried away and got a little bit outside of myself. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, that was right. When you said that you're going to be there at that time, right? And you're going to work it out, and you're going to have a beer, and you're going to pat each other on the back like good old buddies. No polarization, no sexual attraction. But that would be if you're a super masculine, then the guy's super masculine. That's how you're going to do it. Or maybe you have these fights, but the fights are going to be more about dominance. They're not going to be about the yin and the yang. They're not going to be emotional fights necessarily in that sense, if that makes sense to you. So again, I would say that what you're describing, at least what this article is describing, that's a super feminine side of it, but it's going to take a really, really masculine man to be able to stand up, to be able to handle the kind of shit, the kind of stuff that you can dish out, right? I know this because I've been involved. This is where this is my playground, right? Like because of my own attributes, because of the way that I present myself, I end up in this zone, okay? And I like it. I like the spice. I like the fire. It's something I appreciate in women. I appreciate super feminine women in this regard. And you think about again, the damsel in distress, you might say, well, we have very few damsel in distress moments, so does that make me more masculine than feminine? No, it doesn't make you. It actually makes you more feminine because it's like you're in order to be rescued, you've got a very high bar. You're like, nights are coming by and you're like, fuck it, I don't need help. Get out of here. You chump, right? And so most of the nights are like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Okay, I'll be on my way, right? And they're riding by. But then there's some night that shows up and he's like, no, no, I'm going to pull you out of the quicksand. And you're like, no, I don't need help from a guy. And he's like, no, whatever, princess. Here, take my hand. You're like, no, I don't want your hand. And he's persistent because he knows that you are a woman, and he's passing those tests that you may be subconsciously throwing at him. So there you have it. That's one solution for you, and probably the best solution. And like I said, I think that you probably, if you're relating to this, because you've upped those masculine traits, you've probably upped those feminine traits as well. Try to let the feminine traits come out a little bit more, to leak out, to show that you've got them, and I think you'll have more success, but you're gonna have to find that super masculine man. And when he does pass, and when you do find it, and you've tested him, and you know that then you're gonna have to show him a little bit of that vulnerability, a little bit of that femininity. You're gonna have to give him some kind of reward, by letting him rescue you, by letting him, right? You have the power to not, right? But by, it's a voluntary thing where you're giving him that softer side that he needs. So that's option one. Option two, I will get to now, which is that you could tone it down. You could literally tone it down, and then you wouldn't need as much of a masculine man. You could be less of the alpha feminine, and you can just embrace the feminine side and be a little bit lighter on these things and not be so challenging. I don't think that's in your nature. I don't. Not from reading your email, not from what you said, but that would be the other side. Again, if you were actually exhibiting what I thought were masculine traits, then I would have different advice. Then I would say, get in touch with your feminine side, figure out, how to stop being so analytical and driven and stuff. It's just that I think what is actually happening in this case is not what you think. I actually think that you've got a very amped, a very feminine side of you, and it's really hard for you to find a match for a man that can actually hold up to that's actually going to meet your requirements. I don't know if you can actually even lower that. I think that you're just going to have to find this really, really dominant, really, really masculine man that's going to be able to melt through and be able to see through this sort of mask that you're putting on, right? That looks like a masculine mask, but really it's not. It's not. You're deeply, extremely feminine. You very much want to be taken away and have a guy that is going to be able to totally encompass you. This is going to be totally able to deal with your shit, to be able to love you anyway, to be able to be there, and that's what most women are looking for that. But you've got to find it. Your level is probably so high of that and you're so spunky. You've got so much fire that you're burning up most of the guys that come near you. So you can either tone down the fire, or you can look for the guy that can withstand it. That's really the choices that I would say. Again, just my opinion here. I'm not a woman, but I play one on YouTube on Thursday nights. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. All right. If you like this video, click that subscribe button below. If you didn't like this video, give me shit in the comments. You're going to anyway. So I'll talk to you next time. Take care.